Welcome to the first episode of Open Doors. I'm Rich. This is going to be a YouTube channel focused mostly on real estate investing and just investing in general. I'm going to try to give tips and helpful, advice on how to make money, maybe possibly supplement your income, get into real estate, maybe even do what I do and get into development. This is my first YouTube video. I have always wanted to do this, but haven't had the time. I hope you guys can bear with me. This video might be a little rough. I'm hoping with time and as I make more episodes, my video editing as well as my presentation will get better and it'll be much more entertaining. This first episode may be a little dry and a little info heavy, only because it's about a lot of general topics for life and for success and business, and a lot of these topics, these get rich quick guys will kind of glaze over or just completely omit, and I think it's a shame because I think these things that people should understand and be prepared for before they go into any business or any new enterprise. So let's begin. This first episode is called "How Are You Making Your Money?" And like I said, you got to ask yourself, how are you making your money? Do you have an income? Do you have a job? Does it help you live the lifestyle that you like or do you want to live? Do you have enough money in your bank account? Do you think you could, possibly, make more money? Or do you have no money in your bank account and you need to find a new job, a new career path, So, there's a lot of different ways to make money. There's a lot of new industries. Jobs are constantly being created. Industries are constantly being created and evolved. And, you just need to be diligent enough and clever enough to get in there, find these new industries, research about it, and possibly make money and monetize it. It's hard. It's time consuming, but if you really put your mind to it, it can be very rewarding. Some of the advice I'm going to give, you don't even may not even need to quit your 9-to-5 job. You can have your, safety net and make your money through your employer. And then on your free time, you can focus on making, money on a side hustle or on some other real estate deal or something that's going to help supplement your income, So let's move forward. The first topic I want to talk about that a lot of people neglect to or don't mention, and it's something that I feel a lot of people, listen to these videos and try to make money and then get upset, but they don't realize that, just because you heard, somebody talk about it on YouTube or you heard about it from a friend doesn't mean it's going to be easy to do. Nothing in this life is really easy. I mean, and especially no one succeeds without hard work, my favorite proverb is it takes 10,000 hours of practice to master any skill, right? So you got to put in the time if you want to be good at something. The other thing is a lot of people get intimidated by the amount of work. Sometimes they think it's impossible or too hard to, accomplish. But if you take any task, any job in manageable, digestible bites at a time, and you do it little by little, it may take you a long time to do it, but eventually you'll have accomplished that goal, and you'll have done that task that you once thought was impossible. You'll chip away that mountain until it becomes a molehill. So I think everybody neglects that fact that nothing is really impossible. It just, as long as you have enough time, you can get any task accomplished. The other thing I think that a lot of people who become successful forget that you should never think yourself too good for a task or a job or a position, or you're like above it, because you make so much money and you can hire somebody. I think that's a shame that people think that way, because I think any good businessman who owns their own business or an entrepreneur or a real estate developer or anybody knows that sometimes your business may require you to cover a shift, may require you to get into one of your properties and change a pipe or do something, deal with a customer or something along those lines, because sometimes you might be short-staffed, or sometimes you don't, have anybody to cover a position, so you have to go in there yourself. So it's whatever that job or that business requires of you. You have to be willing to put it in, and that's the only way you're going to be good at it and you're going to make money at it. The other big thing everybody always says is, I don't have enough money. How do I get into real estate, especially without any capital? And I tell everybody that if you have a good deal that is solid and is gonna make money, then sourcing capital is easy. You can find people to help invest. You can find lenders. There's creative financing options. There's something that Rich Dad Poor Dad loves to say, and I think it's great, which is OPM, other people's money. You can get seller to finance a project, a portion of the project, and then get a conventional lender to finance the rest. And you may not have had to put any money if at all in a project sometimes. Or you can, if it's a commercial project, you can finance the equipment and the furniture and things like that, and that'll help take money out of the capital stack that would have been, money that would have been required out of your pocket. Or you can go to like hard money lenders. They help people complete and secure financing for projects that are difficult and hard for other more conventional lenders to underwrite. So don't ever think you can't get a project done just because you don't have any money. You just need to be smart and creative and just diligent. Uh, do your research. That's huge. I think that's the biggest thing. I think everybody who wants to be successful at something, or especially in real estate, you need to get in there and you need to put research your topic, your project. Find all the ins and outs, the zoning, the permitting, the licensing, anything that's required. You need to find it and you need to understand it. That way you can realistically get a project done. You need to also, I think it's great if you focus on something you're passionate about. That way the research is easy to do and it's fun to do, and you don't get fried and don't overwork yourself. The other thing is always be looking for and open to new deals. They're constantly coming from different places. You can always find them through your research online. But you just got to know what to look for, and you got to know what is going to make this deal lucrative and worth pursuing. And then if you do find a project, or topic that you want to pursue, always understand and know the resources and skills that you need for that, whatever you're getting into. Because if you go in there blind, it's going to cost you a lot of money, or it's going to cost you a lot of time, and you're going to have to learn as you go, and that's not always the best way to go about it. You're going to end up stumbling a lot. The other thing is speak to and network with professionals in that field. They are going to be your greatest resource for information, and they're going to, if they're also smart and want to make money, they're going to help you because that might help them, make money as well. So always find people in that field and make friends with them and talk to them often. So educate yourself. You should always be ready to learn, especially with new industries and new fields you're going into, because you're going to have to be comfortable learning new material, unfamiliar material, and skills that you're not used to. You may not have been applicable in your other career or job or whatnot, what have you. Try to consume as much relevant information as you can to the topic that you're pursuing. There's so many resources out there for you to learn: Google, YouTube, everything. So just take in as much information as you can. Take courses, like Udemy or all these other online educational platforms that have courses that you may be free, maybe paid, whatever, what have you, whatever you can afford. But there's information out there and courses out there that you can take, and that would help you progress your career. Obtain any necessary helpful licensing and certifications. For example, in my real estate development, I had to get a general contracting license. Something it wasn't necessary, but I got it. I thought it would be helpful. Same thing with the real estate license. Same thing with my MBA. Same thing with my project management certification. We do all these things. I get all these licenses and certifications because I know they're going to be useful. I'm going to learn these things, and even if I end up hiring somebody else to do this job or this task, I still understand it, and I know what that job is going to require of that person, and I know if they're doing a good job or not. Also, if you are unemployed, I think the best thing you can do is get into the field and get into an entry-level position, work in that field and from the ground up, learning everything organically, and it will pay off eventually if you really put in the time and effort to absorb everything there is at that company or wherever you're working. The other best advice I can give to everybody, and I do tell this to a lot of my friends and family, is stay curious and stay thirsty for knowledge. You should always be striving to learn something new and trying to acquire as much knowledge as you can. Once you feel like you learned everything, then you lost. I think it's the worst thing in the world to do is to feel like you know everything, because you'll quickly realize you don't. Then you can research and learn and acquire as much knowledge as possible, but none of that is going to help you unless you actually apply that knowledge in the real world. So yes, learn, yes, do the research, but at some point you need to get out there and hit the streets, and you need to look for deals, you need to pursue deals, you need to try to get contracts going and letters of intent or purchase agreements or whatever, what have you. But you need to apply that knowledge, or it's going to be for nothing, and get started now. You can, deals take so long to pencil out and to just, put all the pieces together. So you could be educating yourself while you are getting a deal together and trying to get this project off the ground. Education and research is only going to get you so far, so you need to apply what you learned as quickly as possible. Because through real world application is the best way to learn something, and that's the best. It's going to stick with you the longest. You can read something in a book, but you'll forget it the next day. But if you actually applied it and you do it and you're actively physically doing these things, it's going to stay with you. Success is never going to just fall in your lap. You need to work at it. You need to make sure that you're actively pursuing these things. That's how you're going to get to where you want to be. Failure. This is my favorite topic. I think this quote from Sugar Ray Leonard is fantastic. I tell it to everybody. You never know. If you never know failure, you will never know success. I think it's so true. I think, when you are running your own business, if you become successful, at some point you will say this to everybody. I say this to everybody, is I've failed so much along the way, but with every failure I learned something, and I ingrained that into myself to make sure I didn't fail like that again. And I've lost. I remember one time I lost $900,000 on a real estate deal. It happens, but you got to know that that's not the end of the world. You can pick yourself back up, and you can continue, and you can start a new project, and maybe the next project will make you that money back, or maybe it'll make you some money back, but it'll springboard you to the next project and the next project, and then eventually you'll make that money back. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there, take the risk, because I know we all hate risking our money, but at some point you will have to, whether it's stocks, whether it's real estate, and anything, because no real gains are made without a little bit of risk. And if you are afraid of that, then you shouldn't be going out and branching on your own. You should just stick to your 9 to 5, work your cubicle job, and get your salary and be happy. Otherwise, if you are okay with taking a chance, then there's so many opportunities out there. So we've reached almost the end of the video. I want to leave every video with an actionable tip. That way, I'm teaching you something that you can possibly apply in the real world and make money off of. And I think this is one of my favorite topics I like to talk about. I tell a lot of my friends and family and anybody who's looking to make money and who doesn't have a lot of capital to invest into a new business. Foreclosures, I think they're such a great avenue for supplementing your income. It just takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming. So basically what foreclosures are is when a bank finances a home, let's say for a homeowner, their home, and at some point, God forbid, they can't make their loan payments, and the bank will come in and foreclose and kick out the homeowner and take back that property. And most banks are not in the business of owning real estate. So what they do is they auction off this property. And when they auction off this property, majority of the time, the auction price ends up being more than what the bank is owed. And the bank is legally only allowed to take what their note says they're owed, their balance of their note. That excess funds legally belongs to that previous homeowner who got foreclosed on. But a lot of times these people will leave and they won't have a forwarding address or anything like that. So the government will take that money and hold it in a fund. And this is a huge $1 billion fund. It's called the unclaimed funds. That's the term. It's been around for decades. The government has been doing this forever. Basically, your job would be to go into the county clerk, or some of these counties have on the internet, so you can go to their website and get these public records, and they're all foreclosure records are public, and anybody can access them. So you go in. The time-consuming part is sifting through all these records to find the records that have amounts that are decent enough for you to pursue, right? Because you're not going to pursue a foreclosure that only has $1,000 excess, right? Because you're only going to be able to ask realistically anywhere from 5 to 10% of that amount, right? So why pursue something that's only going to net you $100, right? You're gonna do something that's going to be a couple hundred. That way it nets you 10,000 or whatever it is, and so. Or a few thousand, So that's the goal, is to sift through these records to find the largest amount. And then the other hard part is finding that person who was the homeowner who got foreclosed on. Like I said, they don't leave forwarding addresses. They're usually transient, and it's very difficult to find them. So it's going to be probably the hardest task, is finding these people and then convincing them to sign this compensation agreement, right? What I would do is, there's so many templates out there that you can find or get off the internet, but I would get one, either write one up or get one off the internet, and then show it to your attorney, make sure they vet it and they say it's okay. And then I would take it to the homeowner, and you say, hey, look, if I can get you a check for this amount of money, you will give me, let's say, 10% of that check, or 5% of the check, whatever you guys agree upon. And then you get him to sign that agreement. You are now his agent. You're his registered agent, right? Because you're gonna part of that compensation agreement is going to be a clause that says you are going to be their representative for claiming these funds with the government, because the government will only issue that check to either the homeowner that got foreclosed on, or any of his legal representatives, right? So you become his legal representative, and so it may be beneficial to have two different agreements as his representative, and then another agreement for the compensation. And so you become his representative, you go to the state and you say, hey, I want to get the unclaimed funds for so-and-so. They will issue you a check. It will be in the name of the homeowner, so you can't cash that check. So what you would do is you bring it back to the homeowner. The homeowner now is legally obligated to give you whatever percentage you agreed upon because of that compensation agreement. And once they cash that check, they hopefully will give you the money. Sometimes there are lawsuits that happen because they don't want to, pay the fee. But if you take them to court, most of the time you'll get that money. So I think that is a really great tip for anybody who wants to get started in something that takes very little capital, only just a lot of time. The other thing is about foreclosures, which I think if you do have a little bit of capital, is purchasing foreclosures. A lot of these banks auction it through the county or through like the sheriff's office or department or whatever, and they will be auctioning these properties at pennies on the dollar. So you can pick up a multi-family home, a single family home, or even a building sometimes for next to nothing. And a lot of times they will need work, so you will have to go in there and put a little additional capital to get it up to standard, and before you can rent it or sell it. And then the other thing is that it's a little tricky to get more conventional lending and financing for a foreclosure home because they know it has a bad history. But it's not impossible. It just takes some time. So that's my tip for the day. I think it's very useful, and I hope you guys found this video to be helpful and entertaining. If if you guys have any questions and comments, please let me know. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you want to hear about any topics that for the next episode, please let me know, and I'll try to accommodate as best I can. So thank you guys. And let me just leave you with one last thing. Journey is on. I think it's such a great quote. Like I was saying before, you can learn as much as you want, and fill your head with as much knowledge, but nothing's gonna happen until you actively take the first steps to go out there and start your journey. So I hope you guys had a good time.